And what's your name, little boy?
Colin Madsen.
Colin Madsen. How old are you, Colin?
5. Oh, 4. Oh, 4.
It was in March of 2016 when 25-year-old Colin Madsen vanished from a guest house in Arshan, a remote village in the Buryatia region of Siberia. An experienced hiker. Fluent in Russian, he was a student living in Irkutsk. He wasn't someone who got lost. And yet, after 8 days, that's exactly what everyone believed had happened. But what they found didn't make sense. Colin had arrived in Arshan with 3 friends, a fellow American and 2 Russians, to hike Love Peak, a well-known but challenging summit near the Siberian mountains. It was still early spring, and although a bit of snow still clung to the ground, the trail was clear enough. They rented a modest cabin, no running water, no heat, just sleeping bags, a few supplies, and a stove. Colin and his friends talked late into the night and fell asleep around 2 a.m., but by 5 that morning, Colin was gone. His wallet and phone were still in the cabin, so at first, they thought maybe he'd stepped out for a walk. But the minutes stretched into hours. By 7 a.m., they went to the police. Search teams were dispatched. Helicopters scanned the trail. Local volunteers joined. But nothing turned up.
Siberian reports say authorities found 25-year-old Colin Madsen dead overnight near where he went missing 8 days ago.
He was on his back. Left arm stretched, right arm bent. His fists clenched so tightly his nails had broken skin. His thermal shirt was torn, and his pants were tugged down. His neck and wrists were scraped, raw, as if he'd been tied up. He had no socks on, which was odd since he'd had surgery on his ankles and always wore socks to avoid irritation. But what was even more chilling was that his body showed almost no signs of decomposition. This suggested he died only hours earlier, despite having been missing for over a week. This led some investigators to conclude he had likely been alive the entire time they searched. The official cause? Hypothermia. Local authorities claimed he was intoxicated, disoriented, and simply wandered into the woods and got lost. An odd conclusion since the toxicology report showed Colin wasn't drunk. They did find trace amounts of THC in his system, but the amounts were so small it wouldn't have impaired his judgment. Not satisfied with the local authorities' investigation, his family hired a forensic team to take a look. They came to an entirely different conclusion: that Colin had been suffocated. Based on the bruises around his neck and wrists, they believed he had been tied up and smothered. Then, more than a week later, someone dragged him into the woods and left him there. Of course, this leads us to perhaps the most chilling question: why? One theory suggests that the Russian government may have had a hand in it. Colin had participated in an environmental protest in Siberia and had received a warning from the police not to attend another demonstration. Could his death have been a message? But if so, why would the government go to such lengths to silence him, especially when he was with friends who would immediately notice his disappearance? But there are other theories that are even darker. Arshan sits near the edge of the vast Siberian mountain region, where disappearances are not uncommon. The area is remote, sparsely populated. Could he have been taken by human traffickers, a rogue military faction? Or maybe he was an unfortunate victim of something even darker. The terrain around Love Peak is filled with abandoned buildings from the Soviet era, crumbling structures now overrun by the forest. Some think he may have been held in one of them. that his disappearance points to something more calculated, possibly the work of a serial killer. To this day, there are still no suspects, and no one has come forward with any evidence. His mother, Dana, has pushed for answers every year since Colin's disappearance. She asked for surveillance footage. She asked for an official inquest, but was told the footage had been erased, and the case was officially closed. In a 2017 interview, Dana described the silence that followed her son's death as the hardest part. His family was told very little. Records were missing, evidence withheld. Dana wrote letters, filed reports, posted to Facebook, trying to get attention on the case. And still, no answers, no justice, no accountability. Only more questions that no one in Russia seems willing to answer. How could the search teams have missed him? Over and over again, even though he was located just a mile from the cabin. But until someone talks, until something breaks in the case, the story of Colin Madsen will likely remain one of Siberia's most puzzling unsolved mysteries.